This is Don Mazzella again for Small Business Digest. We have from Australia what I consider one of the more interesting people we've had in quite a while. Michael Lindsaar is joining us. It's morning there, it's evening here, and we're going to start by simply asking him, tell us a little bit of his personal background, and then about his very interesting company, and finally a website. So it's all yours.
Thanks, Don. What an introduction. So my name's Mikel Lindsaar. As Don says, I'm an entrepreneur in Australia. I've been doing entrepreneurship, if you like, for about a decade now. And over the past 10 years, I've launched, I think, around 5 or 6 companies and successfully exited from about 4 of them. And over that time, I'm also a software developer. I've written software that's been downloaded about 350 million times now. In fact, you probably have used my software and just don't know it. If you've ever received an email from Basecamp or Uber or GitHub or Groupon, or even Stripe, they use the software library that we developed, or I developed as an open source solution. So yeah, I've been a volunteer for 10 years. I've helped families with drug addiction and all sorts of different problems in the family life area. And then at the start of 2000, I decided to really kick off and create my own businesses, because I came to the realization that being a volunteer doesn't pay much money. And I needed to earn enough income to look after my family as my mum and dad were getting older. And, you know, that sort of life came in and told me I should start helping and taking some more responsibility on those areas. And so, yeah, I launched my businesses, and here we are with 3 companies running, but one pretty important one that I'm pushing very hard right now, and really hoping to help change the lives of a lot of small to medium business owners out there.
So tell us about your company. First its name, and then tell us about your company.
Sure. So the company name is Store Connect, and Store Connect came out of an idea about 5 years ago, where I was doing a lot of work in another company of mine called Reinteractive. They do custom web applications connected to Salesforce. So that's what that other consulting company does. And it's still running and it's doing really well. But while I was working in that business, I noticed that there were a lot of customers of ours who were using Salesforce and had all of their account and contact and product information in Salesforce. And I just looked at it and went, wow, you know, that's about half of an e-commerce store right there, all of that data sitting inside of Salesforce. So I thought, what if we created a software application that a customer could just install and configure and take all of that data that was already in Salesforce and publish it as an e-commerce website? And I probably had a little bit of a naive view of how easy that would be. I think we had our first prototype running in 3 weeks. And then we threw that one out. And I think we rebuilt it about 5 times. Every time we hit another thing that was a complete deal breaker and stopped the whole process. And so after about 4 years and a lot of invested development work across a team of, I don't know how many people we have now, 16 or 17 people, we have now produced a product which is very reliable and is looking after a whole heap of companies worldwide. So fundamentally what it does is it takes your data within a Salesforce environment as a single source of truth. And instead of trying to synchronize to that into some other e-commerce platform like Shopify or Magento or WooCommerce or Square or whatever, we just build your website and e-commerce directly on top of that data. So there's no synchronization problems. There's no double work. There's no double entry. When an order comes in from a client, it goes straight into your Salesforce organization as an order, and you get an account created and a contact. And when we launched Store Connect, the motto we came up with was time well spent, because fundamentally we really get that running an e-commerce site, it sort of sucks. You know, there is so much you have to do to constantly keep the thing up to date, and you're constantly updating products and accounts and email addresses and everything and content. And a lot of our customers, when we talk to them, adding a product is a major cycle. You know, they do it in their e-commerce website, then they do it in their CMS to talk about the product, then they do it in their marketing platform, and then they upload the images over here, and then they have a support request from a client who saw it on the marketing website, but it's not yet up on the e-commerce website. And all of these sorts of things where humans are basically getting computers to talk to computers. So we've simplified all of that and brought about a new idea in the e-commerce industry of e-commerce 3.0, which is pretty interesting.
And your website, before we go further?
The website address is getstoreconnect.com. So that's GET and then storeconnect.com, all spelt as you would expect it to be spelt. Nice and easy. No dropped vowels or syllables or anything like that.
Okay, but let's back up. But basically, you have to have a sales force in place first before you can reach out to you. Am I right?
Yes and no. I mean, 68% of our customers were not on Salesforce before they came to us. And then we've got a massive partner network that we've signed up. So in the last, 11 months, I think, we've signed up 40 companies to be installation and configuration partners of Store Connect, which is a massive uptake. I think it's a record for a Salesforce software vendor to have that many partners sign up in that short period of time. So we have over 40 other companies that are helping people on board onto Store Connect and Salesforce. And those partners, the majority are Salesforce consulting partners as well. So really what the prerequisite of coming to Store Connect would be, you're a small to medium business, or you're a very large business that has this sort of side business of e-commerce that they need to handle somehow that, you know, is not their main line. Like we won't take a Target, but if some large manufacturer who's an enterprise wants to sell direct, 5 or 6 products or something, we could totally do that. But you're a small to medium business who is hitting scaling problems with their current software solutions. That's really the target customer for us. So you're already on Shopify or Magento or WooCommerce or whatever you've been on, and you're starting to hit that problem where it feels like your staff are spending more time chasing their tails, trying to keep everything up to date, than actually getting on with the job and selling more product. I mean, we had a client 2 weeks ago who just signed up, and they have 18,000 something products across their business, but they have a website, a point of sale system, and their back-end CRM, customer relationship management platform. And they had pricing listed in all 3 of those. And her job was actually head of marketing, but her entire time spent on the job was basically just keeping those 3 systems with the same price across those 3 systems, because they were getting new stock coming in and pricing was changing. And she would be spending 4 to 6 hours a day just trying to keep the pricing up to date across those systems. And we'll be able to replace all of that with one Store Connect license and one Salesforce license. And she'll have one spot to update the price. And when she changes the price within, seconds, the website will be up to date, their marketing system will be up to date, their inside sales system will be up to date, and their point of sale will be up to date. So this sort of thing is where we come in and help that customer on a journey from, I'm a bit overwhelmed here and I can't see a vision on how we can scale this, to, oh yeah, we can scale this. I think another really good example of that is if you're on Shopify, for example, or many of these platforms, and you want to launch a second brand, or you want to go into another currency or country, quite often you'll need to actually launch a second store with a second copy of the products and a second copy of the price books. I mean, you can imagine how much work that is. So in Store Connect, you just create a second store and then you associate the existing product to that new store and just add a new currency value on it. And to give you an example of that, like the ultimate example of that, we had a client sign up who has 73 e-commerce stores across 4 countries and 4 currencies. And they've got everything. They've got like 20 Shopify instances and 10 lots of BigCommerce and everything. And we're replacing all of that with, I think it's 5 Salesforce licenses and 1 Store Connect license. And they weren't previously on Salesforce. So you can see how much work that's going to save for that company. I think we actually asked them, we said, how do you keep this up to date? They said, we're really, really good at Excel. And I'm like, yeah, you're not kidding. Like, oh my gosh. So yeah, we're able to migrate all of that into one source of truth, right? And this is this idea of time well spent. We want our clients out enjoying drinks with friends, not up at 3 a.m. wondering why their billing system's not talking to their CRM that's having arguments with their support system. It's crazy.
It seems to me, listening to you and other people that have been on this program, that we're almost gradually going to one big system over everybody's. I think of science fiction, the universal. I don't know. I'm trying to remember the science fiction novel where you can go in and you'll have one universal system across everything. Seems you're a step in that direction, if I'm hearing you right.
Probably. But, I think there's a great actual short story, and I'd recommend it to anyone who enjoys science fiction. It's by Isaac Asimov. I think the name of it is The Last Question.
Oh, yeah.
It's beautiful. And I think fundamentally, computers, with AI, computers, I think, will always be able to make very fast and smart questions. But the creativity is something that the humans do. And it's really up to us to make sure that world ends up in the right state and expands. But yeah, I think there'll always be avenues and areas as data gets more prolific and as it gets more capable. You do need to start consolidating that more and more, because otherwise you're just spending your time being a typewriter for a computer. I think I touched on this a little bit earlier with e-commerce 3.0, and your comment there about one system really ties in with that. So the idea of e-commerce 3.0 is that you have, as a business owner, one system where your data is, but also on top of that, you own your own data. So instead of having to depend on Google and Facebook to tell you how well their ads performed, because I'm sure there's no vested interest for them to say they performed very, very well, thank you very much. But instead of relying on them, you can actually just see that data within your own environment, and you can tell where this order came from, and you're capturing that data without having to use third-party systems to collate that data. And while it is getting into more than one system, we're also encouraging our users to not have to use Facebook and Google to track that user through their journey across all the websites, because we can tell them that this user, before they place that order, clicked on this ad of yours and this ad of yours and this ad of yours, right? So instead of using third-party data collection tools to capture that information, we're allowing them to be the first-party data collection tool on that. And I think that's going to be quite powerful into the future, because we've got a lot of privacy concerns, as you rightly bring up. And really, the privacy really comes into it when there's more than one, like when there's these large overarching companies that are harvesting your data across many systems. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it that you have your own data. Like Salesforce as an organization can't see into your Salesforce organization. They don't have access to your data. No one else does, right? I mean, of course, some engineer somewhere could, but it's not like they're harvesting that information. It's not public knowledge. So we're really creating it so you have your single data source for you as a company, but you're not using that or not depending on that Google and Facebook, knowledge of Don just clicked on an ad over at this company website, so show him this competing ad. We're not into that.
Well, let me ask you this question. You're in effect putting all of your company's data into one area. How do you prevent somebody from finding a backdoor and stealing that data?
Yeah, fair call. I mean, that sort of security issue is there for all systems. And I guess one of the reasons we chose Salesforce as a main application is that they take their security very seriously on the Salesforce side. And so they've got, the process of us developing our software package included a full security audit by the Salesforce security team of our software before we were allowed to publish it. And they do that for every package that goes live. And Salesforce as an organization have a very strong security background in terms of the actual data stored in Salesforce. So I don't know how to answer that question particularly because, there's lots of ways to get data. And usually the way that you hack into someone's data is not via software. Usually the way you hack in is you just call one of the staff and ask them for their password over the phone and they tell you. You just say, "Hi, I'm from IT support. Can I have your password, please?" And they go, "Yeah, it's blah," and that's that. So it's, that I think we don't increase your attack vector on that. If anything, we sort of decouple it a little bit because our front-end website only shows effectively read-only data. It doesn't show all of the business intelligence data, which is separated from that in Salesforce. We're built on and on top of Salesforce, but we do it through a very proprietary method of communication between our front-end server and the Salesforce server. So if this website gets compromised somehow or hacked, which is the public-facing website, all they get is a snapshot of the read-only data of what's in Salesforce. So we're not exposing all of that company information out onto that public website. They would then need to find and hack Salesforce as well in order to get your data, and that would be hard work. So Store Connect really takes that seriously in the way that we've developed our infrastructure.
Well, let me one more time. Let's have your website again for our audience.
So it's getstoreconnect.com and get store connect, 3 words, all joined together, no spaces. So getstoreconnect.com.
But this came up with someone else. How do you deal with returns?
Yeah, they're tough. So we're building out. So one of the nice things within Store Connect is we already have our order object, and when an order comes in, it has all the line items, and you can then edit those line items live. You can remove a line item from it and take that balance and put it into an account credit. But within our back-end system, because it's built on Salesforce, you can create any sort of workflows or tasks or automation that you need within that application. So you can generate return authorizations, or you can generate communications back to customers and follow-up tasks to follow up this thing. So really, that's probably the secret weapon of Store Connect, is that we are built on Salesforce. And one of the things you can do with that is build out your business automation on the platform. You're not having to, I guess a good example there is that on a lot of other e-commerce products, for example, you might have a list of reports that you can download, right? You've got your today's sales and 5 or 6 other reports or 10 reports, and they're your reports. So that's what you can monitor on the platform. And anything else you want to monitor, you have to do a data export and put it into Excel and massage it and do what you need to do, right? In Store Connect, you have access to the raw data within Salesforce, all of the raw data, and you can use the Salesforce reporting tools to create whatever report you want. So, I mean, I'll give you a good example of this. We had a client who said, and I know I've gotten off your return thing, but anyway, this is a good example. We had a client that asked, hey, for Valentine's Day, we want to, for every order that comes in that's over $100, we wanted to put in an extra gift, right? And we just want to add it to the order and ship it out as part of it and just surprise the customer. How can we do that? And that's simple in Salesforce. You just create a flow using some clicks and it's done. And I pointed them at the Salesforce help documentation. They taught themselves how to do it in the morning and they were up and running that afternoon without having to add any other code or getting an external contractor in or anything like this. They could just go ahead and do it. Or another client asked they wanted a report that showed them a rolling 3-month summary of the highest spenders across the store so that they could automate an email going out saying, thank you for being our top 3 or top 10 or whatever, and have that just as an automated process that happened once a week. Again, no software needing to be installed. We sent them off to the Salesforce training, which is all free. They taught themselves how to do it and it's done. So these sorts of really powerful business intelligence stuff and business process automation can be done on the Salesforce side. And it really gives you the best of both worlds in terms of that e-commerce platform. So with returns, speaking to your point, you can program up the various steps that you need for that return. Because, a lot of systems will have, well, the customer has to do blah, then you have to do blah, then they have to do blah, and like a very specific set of steps. With Store Connect on top of Salesforce, you can actually say what those steps are. So maybe the automation request comes in or the return request comes in and you need to make a task on Bob's dashboard to make sure that they go and look at the stock level to check that the item is of return quality. And once that's done, he needs to check a box, which then automatically creates a task for Joyce to call the customer to say, hey, we're okay, we can now refund this. Can I have your bank details? Which then, once that's done, automatically does blah, 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 blah. So you can set up all of these automation rules and have that exactly per your business process and not have to change your company to operate with the way someone dreamed up returns should be handled. And we've found that every single customer we've talked to about returns has a different process. It really is pretty amazing how many variations on this you can get. And we've been able to accommodate the vast majority of them, which has been fantastic.
Well, I'll ask you another question. Most of the reports that are generated are reports that are line items. Why isn't it automated so that you do a lot more charts and things that,
Totally.
I've never understood it. I mean, they'll put out reams of paper, look like an Excel file, but
That's right.
what really people want is something that is anyway,
visual. Yeah.
Visual.
So any report that you generate in Salesforce, you can turn into a chart automatically. And then you can drag those charts onto a dashboard that you land on when you go into Salesforce every morning. So I have this with my company. When I log into my Salesforce environment for Store Connect, the first page that comes up is my dashboard. And on my dashboard, I have 10, 15 different charts. Some of them are pie charts, some are line charts, some are bar charts, some are circle percentages. I've even got a Speedo one that shows me the percentage of a certain thing that's happening in the organization. And that all gets updated automatically for me at 8 a.m. So that by the time I get to my desk, it's all current data. And if I want to refresh it, it takes, 30 seconds or something. But you can create these dashboards in Salesforce, as pretty much as many as you like, for different people. And some of our clients really like this because what they do is they'll create a dashboard for the CEO or for the boss of the company, and they email that graph dashboard to him every morning, so that they've got the current data. And those same dashboards then come in on your phone. So you can see those same graphs and dashboards on your phone. So you can be out on the road, seeing what orders come in or contact one of the customers. And again, this is where us building on top of Salesforce means we get access to all of this amazing enterprise level software, and we're able to do it at a very competitive, price point where we're cheaper than Shopify Plus to get started, and we can just scale to wherever you need to get to. You're not really going to outscale Salesforce. You'd have to be a pretty big company.
Our show primarily goes to the small businesses, 100 employees or less. Is your system applicable to them?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think the smallest client we've had is a startup with one staff member. I mean, look, fundamentally, the minimum entry price you would need for Store Connect is around $500 a month, and that includes a Salesforce license, right? So, but then you can scale it as big as you want. We've got companies spending many, many times that across their Salesforce licenses and their Store Connect license. But the real smart thing about Store Connect is this time well spent. We really looked into this. We surveyed a lot of business owners, and the number one thing that any CEO or business owner has a lack of is time. It's across everything else. It's not money, it's not staff, it's just time. And we realized that the e-commerce 2.0 systems, and to give you a little bit of a definition of that quickly, e-commerce 2.0 systems is what we have now, before something like Store Connect, where you've got your e-commerce and then your support system and then your mailing system and then your CRM and then your this and that, and they're all trying to talk to each other, and they're overriding each other's data all the time because, they think they're the source of truth, and you're having to maintain all of that. E-commerce 3 takes all that and brings it together into one platform, and that you own your own data. So that's the difference between 2 and 3. So, but we found these CEOs with these systems were just run off their feet trying to keep these systems up to date, or they had staff that were run off their feet trying to just keep systems up to date instead of marketing and expanding their company. And they also could see that this isn't going to scale any further. They've already got 2 people just trying to keep the orders in sync. If they double their orders, they're going to need 2 or 3 more people just to do the orders. That's a huge cost to those business owners. And really, the other side of that, which is quite interesting, is companies like Amazon, who are out there doing e-commerce incredibly well. I mean, you have to say, if you call Amazon about your shipment or about your order, the service rep has all your data right there. They know what they're doing. In fact, they use Salesforce, right? That's part of why they know all of that information, because they just have it on hand. So Store Connect allows those small to medium businesses to start competing using similar tooling to the likes of Amazon and providing that complete customer experience for those customers who are calling up.
Well, on that note, your website one last time.
GetStoreConnect.com.
Okay. Well, you have 1 minute. What would you like to leave the audience with?
Look, I'd like to say that I started Store Connect 5 years ago because I'm a small business owner and I could see the challenges that those business owners need, that they don't have a lot of time, and that they really want to help their customers and scale. And honestly, that's why I built Store Connect. So if anyone is interested, please jump on the website, send us an email. We'll get in touch. I'll have a chat with you. Just tell them you came from the Small Business Digest, and we'll get in there and help you out and see how we can help expand your business and make your life a little bit simpler.
You're a great salesman as well as an entrepreneur.
Thank you.
On that note, we say, Michael, thank you so much for joining us.